Good evening, everyone. This is the July ArchSoc talk. It's still through the Western Cape, but I know many of you are logging in nationally and internationally this evening. And you all are welcome for all the future talks for the rest of the year. And we have a great talk for you this evening. We have Dawn Green, and she's one of the rock art speakers for the year. And her talk is all about women in San rock paintings of the southern Drakensberg and the adjacent areas. Many of you know Dawn or have met her, have visited her in Lady Grey and near Rhodes and Berkeley East. And she's been carrying out an extensive survey program there for many years, and has a beautiful farm, which is also part of one of the Skyrun routes in that area. Her research focuses on the paintings of women or sites where women are painted, and she's looked at the androcentric bias of San rock art archaeology previously exposed by Judith Stevenson. And there's a very detailed paper in the December 2020 digging stick, which I've linked to the talk page on the archaeological website, archaeology.org.za. So you can read quite a lot more about her paper in that digging stick article. And I think this talk that she's giving this evening is a very nice companion piece to the paper. Dawn, I'll just give you a little bit more about her. She is the top performer in the category for Best Research Masters and recipient of the UNISA Council Graduate Excellence Award in the College of Human Sciences for 2019. She's currently studying her PhD with UCT, and she's investigating notions of identity and identity marking in 3 areas of the Drakensberg and adjacent areas to understand more about San notions of personhood, belonging, and social conditioning. Dawn is committed to decolonization and is actively involved in heritage education and development projects in her local communities. So what we did with this talk was to record it over Zoom on Friday, just so that we could avoid any unexpected internet issues. She's in the middle of the mountains, so she could be knocked out of internet access quite easily out there. So we've pre-recorded the actual presentation, and she's live, she's with me, and we are both available at the end, and I will feed questions to Dawn as usual that you all submit through the chat box on the right. Don't forget to subscribe to increase our subscriber rates on the YouTube channel. It's very useful, and many of you have done that already. Thank you very much. So I'm going to, without further ado, move her talk into the page, and you can sit back, and don't forget to submit your questions as they come up in the chat box. I'll nudge you all as we enjoy it. So just give me a sec to bring in her talk. Okay.
Hi, everyone. I'm very grateful to the Archaeological Society for giving me this opportunity to present a small part of my research. I hope you are all well. I focus on the importance of gender for understanding more about San painting in the southern Drakensberg and adjacent areas. I especially emphasize that my arguments relate to the paintings I recorded in these areas. I want to explore the difficulties inherent in gender studies, and to do so, I focus on paintings of women because they appear to be neglected. I prefer to use the terms men and women throughout in favor of male-female, as while these gendered terms are all contingent cultural constructions, the use of male-female can objectify people and reduce them to a biological feature. I especially emphasize the respect I have and apply in focusing on paintings of people's body parts, and stress that this is in no way meant to diminish the people I study. Please also note that I have made extensive use of the D-Stretch plugin for ImageJ to enhance photographs. It is a plugin or app that enhances colors and shows details not seen by the naked eye, such as penises, breasts, and horns, which explains the unusual colors you will see in some of the photographs. This presentation stems from a larger feminist gender project where I used a quantitative and qualitative method to record a random selection of sites from Berkeley East, McClear, and Yugi in the high Drakensberg, which I called Area 1, and Jamestown, Allawal North, the lower lying adjacent areas, which I called Area 2. I used a quantitative method and random selection to assist me in finding a relatively representative sample of paintings for each area. Nearly 50 years of San rock art research has demonstrated the usefulness of studying the ethnography of northern and southern San to understand more about San rock paintings. These understandings have been established by the meticulous recording and analyses of the paintings and the relevant ethnographies and the many instances where these lines of evidence converge. Using these ethnographies, previous engendered research has identified certain paintings of men or women which are argued to be dominantly concerned with sexuality, girls' puberty rights, or may identify initiated and uninitiated men. This emphasis on initiation rights and beliefs is usually presented in opposition to the dominant understanding of San rock paintings as closely implicated in the work of ritual specialists and their experiences while accessing, managing, and using supernatural potency. Ritual specialists use supernatural potency to enter altered states of consciousness, to heal, provide for good hunting, call the rain, visit other camps, and so forth. They sometimes did so during the trance dance. Ritual specialists were responsible for the physical and psychological well-being of their communities. However, and confronting this opposition, is research which has shown that in certain San paintings, gender, puberty beliefs, and supernatural potency are all fundamental structuring principles. To gain some understanding of how gender is presented in the paintings, I examined the Southern San ethnography recorded in the late 1800s, that of the Klam and King, and the Northern San ethnography from the Kalahari for more detailed understandings of the experiences of ritual specialists. My analysis of the Southern San ethnography shows that biological sex was associated with gender. Throughout these ethnographies are references to people behaving nicely and with understanding, following customary procedures and respect practices to ensure rain, favorable hunting, fatness, and physical and psychological well-being. These customary procedures were especially important for young men and women and children to condition them into the correct behaviors for their adulthood. They were most essential for young women because if they did not behave with understanding, they could cause a lack of food sharing, men forgetting their wives, the rain becoming angry and either sending destructive storms or no rain, which in turn meant no animals to hunt, no plant food to gather, no fat. Thus, behaving with understanding was essential, and in many stories, the protagonists that do so are rewarded. The community also affected animal behavior and had to follow food avoidances and use respect, names, and practices for animals to ensure animals behave nicely. The respect and avoidance practices are dominantly focused on control and social conditioning to ensure the correct behaviors in kin relationships, marriage, and the acquisition, sharing, preparation, consumption, and discarding of food. people's adherence to customary procedures was especially important for ritual specialists who had to fix any problems, whether illness, lack of rain, lack of game, and so forth. While we can identify the importance of social conditioning in the ethnography, can we expect a similar focus in the paintings? Identifying gender and sex in the paintings is difficult because we do not know what painting conventions may have been used, and sometimes it is difficult to discern biological sex. I identified women by the depiction of breasts, just as I identified men by depictions of penises, but this is not as simple as it sounds. At one of the sites I recorded, located on top of the escarpment between Rhodes and Maclear, a group of men surround a figure that appears to be lying down. The lying down figure has the larger buttocks, thicker thighs, and protruding stomach that is usually depicted in paintings of women and what may be a breast. However, the breast may also be a quiver or part of a kaross, which is an animal skin cloak. This site demonstrates the difficulty of clear descriptions of gender, and that by not admitting to these difficulties, we may be denying women a role in the paintings. Of the paintings I recorded, 6 women in Area 1 and 40 in Area 2 were positively identified. I used a similar method in defining the categories of humans as used by Harold Karger in the Northern Drakensberg, Patricia Winnicombe in the Central Drakensberg, and David Lewis Williams in the Southern Drakensberg, specifically Berkeley East. I compared our results, which show that in the Northern Drakensberg and Southern Drakensberg, paintings of men dominate, followed by the Central Drakensberg and then the areas adjacent to the Southern Drakensberg, which show there are marginally more paintings of men than women. It is difficult to discuss the significance of these differences without age determinations, but some progress is being made. I also recorded the body decoration, clothing, equipment held or carried, postures, and animal and people associations of the depicted figures. I determined associations as those paintings occurring within 50 centimeters of figures, but recognize that all paintings in a site may be associated. Women are usually depicted without clothes, and in Area 2, 3 are wearing front aprons and 1 perhaps a back apron. I recorded 3 women in Area 2 wearing karosses, and in one site they are depicting holding what may be fly whisks. If they hold or carry anything, it is sticks or sticks with board stones. They have more body decoration than figures with large buttocks, but substantially less than other paintings, especially those of indeterminate sex, tall and thin, and men. When women are associated with animals, it's predominantly antelope, male and female eland, female rebuck, indeterminate antelope, and felines. Felines describe lions and indeterminate cats. They are associated with 61% fewer animal species than men. They are mostly depicted in groups and in one site rows. Previous research and San ethnography show the close association of sticks, board stones, and fly whisks with the work of ritual specialists. At times, women are depicted wearing karosses and front aprons, which are also associated with ritual specialists. They are also painted in similar iconographic contexts to men, with female and male eland, female rebuck, and felines, animals associated with the work of ritual specialists. Women, like figures with large buttocks, have the least amount of discernible decoration on their bodies, although the bands and tassels that are depicted are identical to those of men ritual specialists. Just moving that. They are often depicted with very long necks, and feelings of attenuation, you see these very long necks, are experienced during altered states of consciousness. Of further importance is that women are seldom depicted with back aprons. I recorded a single figure that you see here where this may be the case. It is very unusual for women to be without back aprons, and the only time it was acceptable was during a girl's puberty rites where the back aprons were removed. Women's buttocks were often considered to be highly erotic and associated with sex. This may indicate that these are not ordinary women, and they transcend the norms of ordinary women, which I will explore further. There is ample ethnographic evidence supporting the fact that women were ritual specialists, and prominent women and men ritual specialists were recognized. Because of the way in which women are depicted with their painted context, I suggest that many of these paintings depict experienced and perhaps powerful ritual specialists in the community and may emphasize the importance of following customary procedures, which I show by focusing on two sites. The first site I present is found on top of a hill in a shelter where the stone has sheared off from the rock face and lies on the ground in front of the paintings. You can see that here. It makes it very difficult to move around the site freely. The paintings of one group of women in this site have been published, but rarely are their painted associations shown. I recorded approximately 93 paintings of animals and approximately 269 paintings of people, 21 women, 13 figures with large buttocks and no breasts, and 27 men. I recorded 8 therianthropes, which are part human, part animal. 2 sections of the rock face have been painted. On the north side, this painting of a large serpent, 213 centimeters long. And then on the south, a group of 13 women, 6, possibly 8, with breasts, and with an indeterminate figure facing them. And there you see that figure over there. Adjacent to this group are 2 rows of women, 6 and 5 respectively, painted with breasts. The group and rows of women appear to form a conceptual unity because they are treated similarly. They have the same head decoration with dots and painted bands around their legs. There are a few paintings of animals painted around them, including eland, indeterminate antelope and animals, and rhebok. David Lewis Williams and Thomas Dowson argued that the group of women may well represent a woman's trance dance, such as the drum dance, recorded in the Kalahari. This specific women's trance dance is also used in training novices to learn how to access, manage, and use supernatural potency to enter altered states of consciousness, and the novice women may be given a psychoactive route to help them in the process. Lisa, a Juquan woman ritual specialist, describes the sensation of entering trance. The woman stands in place while a rapid vibration similar to a shimmy engulfs her body from head to foot, especially accentuated in the lower torso. Experienced trancers are able to sustain this movement for long periods of time. Less experienced ones often become overwhelmed or frightened and sit down to calm themselves. Women who are determined to explore the full force of the trance state often face the same difficulties men do in handling the intensity of feelings released in trance. They may lose control and run off into the bush, or tease themselves and others with fire, or fling themselves violently to the ground. This may explain the standing and lying postures in this group and the rows of women adjacent. Supporting the argument for a woman's trance dance is the one figure that is bleeding from the nose, and the 11 women who are holding what may be flower whisks, which are used during the trance dance. Of further import are the figures painted below the rows of women that you can see are depicted, where's my mouse, in these bent forward postures experienced during the trance dance. What is difficult to interpret are the oblong shapes depicted from the women's buttocks, the presence of 4 girls' short front aprons, and the apparent naked buttocks of all the women. These elements may indicate another dance, one that is danced at puberty. The oblong shapes may reference the tails of ostrich eggshell beads that are strung between women's buttocks during the eland bull dance. The front aprons may reference the change that girls undergo after their puberty rites, where they are given the longer aprons of women. And the naked buttocks may indicate the removal of back aprons that occurs during the puberty dance. What may further support this interpretation are the 2 rows of women painted adjacent, similar to paintings of what may be puberty rites recorded in the central Limpopo Basin by Edward Eastwood and in the Western Cape by Warne Swart. This is the only site where I recorded paintings of rows of more than 3 women. In addition is the painting of the large serpent to the right of the group and rows of women, and underneath this, a smaller serpent painted in direct association with what appears to be a woman. Supernatural snakes are closely associated with rain, water, and girls' puberty rites, emphasizing the customary procedures that young women have to follow to not anger the rain. There is another aspect that needs consideration. All paintings of women in areas 1 and 2 depict them without back aprons, except in that one figure that I showed you. We know this is unusual and may indicate that these women are not ordinary and may emphasize the importance of sexual potency. If you see from the photographs that I'm showing you, there are none of these women other than this site that I've just presented that are actually painted in rows or groups of other women. In both the Kalahari ethnography and that of the Thumb, women are recognized as sexually potent. Matthias Gunther comments for the Kalahari, women control and dispense sex. He cites a statement from the woman ritual specialist Nisa: a woman can bring a man to life, even if he's almost dead. She can give him sex and make him alive again. If she were to refuse, he would die. Gunther shows the link between the power of sex and the power of healing. What is also emphasized by the statement is the close association of sexual potency and supernatural potency. Gunther cites Richard Lee's comment about the Jutoisi, that the experience of going into trance appears to be connected with sexual arousal and orgasm. Indeed, the rapid vibrations women experience in their lower torsos described by Lisa seem similar to what is experienced in orgasm. This may mean that paintings of women without back aprons emphasize their sexual potency and proficiency in working with supernatural potency. These are not ordinary women. The related associations with puberty rites may also emphasize the importance of following respect practices to the benefit of all people. Women had to follow customary procedures to not anger the rain, to not make men forget about their wives, and to not upset the sourcing, preparation, and sharing of food. Ritual specialists played an important role in reminding people to behave with this understanding. What may be of additional support for these multiple associations is the site is not conducive for a trance dance, nor is there any space nearby. The fallen rocks prevent any type of free movement, and within 2 meters of the painting, the hillside falls away steeply. This context means that if the site was used or reused, and we know that sites were, other procedures to access altered states of consciousness would have been undertaken. such as dreaming, as has been recorded, and I suggest lucid dreaming, as well as focused attention or meditation. We know that becoming a ritual specialist is difficult, and many never master the skill of acquiring and managing supernatural potency and the altered states of consciousness. Training novices can take several years. Neurocognitive research shows that visual cues are used to structure and control what is seen during hallucinations. This may mean that this site was used to train novice ritual specialists, but also novice initiates, teaching them the importance of following customary procedures, especially for women who had the greatest impact on the rain, and thus access to and the provision of food. The second site I present appears to bring focus to other rituals where women ritual specialists play a role. This site is near Jamestown in a small shelter. I recorded approximately 85 animals, and there are approximately 110 paintings of people, 8 women, 4 figures with large buttocks, and 8 men, 2 of which may have infibulated penises, which refers to the different types of attachments depicted on penises. I recorded 3 therianthropes. The paintings span most of the west, south, and east of the shelter, and the paintings of women are found throughout. I focused on the paintings on the west side of the shelter, where a woman is painted with female rebuck, eland, and feline, perhaps 2 feline. She is depicted in yellow, and 4 fingers on her left hand are distinguishable. She appears to reach out to a female rebuck painted to her left. She is wearing a front apron and has knee bands. Her lack of back apron indicates she is not an ordinary woman and may well emphasize her potency. Her neck is attenuated, as you can see there, one of the sensations of being in an altered state of consciousness. She is depicted in the same pigment as the 4 standing rebuck painted around her, and also the feline, who might be standing or in a bent forward posture, also associated with trance experience. The similar pigment choice associates the woman with the rebuck and feline. There is this long tail and body, which may belong to another feline that is painted in this damaged section of the rock face. Sam Challis has argued that rebuck may have similar associations to that of eland. He establishes rebuck as supernaturally potent animals, and the ritual specialists who possess their potency could influence the game and rain. In a later paper with Mark McGranaham, they examined notions of wild and tame in ethnography and the associated respect practices, beliefs about nice behaviors and the importance of behaving with understanding, as well as King's comments regarding the men with rebuck heads who tame elands and snakes. They argued that paintings of ritual specialists in close proximity to animals, either touching or approaching, may well emphasize the ritual specialist's ability to influence these animals to provide for good hunting and rain, which they argued should be better understood as taming magic. The rebuck painted with the women and feline are standing and appear relaxed, which is highly unusual behavior. Rebuck can detect movement 400 to 500 meters away, a stationary object 100 to 200 meters away, and will certainly run away from people and felines. This context suggests that the woman has tamed the rebuck and has control of their behavior. Of additional significance is that the rebuck are all female. There are no horns depicted which would identify males. We know that female rebuck care for their young, which may emphasize another role of ritual specialists. Jeremy Holman argued that paintings of ritual specialists carrying babies on their backs in the paintings of the Western Cape may refer to their caring for novices and their communities. He uses Katz's research in the Kalahari and describes two elements of carrying. The first is the way in which ritual specialists carry novices on their backs, physically carry novices on their backs to help them control and regulate the buildup of supernatural potency. The second element of carrying involves the belief that ritual specialists carry the community by safeguarding the camp and its inhabitants from evil forces. As Katz says, ritual specialists carry the camp and keep the camp healthy. I suggest the emphasis in paintings of female rebak is the ritual specialist's role in helping novices to learn how to access and use supernatural potency, and their role in caring for the physical and psychological health of their communities, not only through ritual, such as providing for good hunting, but also in reminding people to follow respect practices. In areas 1 and 2, paintings of female rebak may well emphasize these aspects. The other painting of significance here is the feline. It is depicted in an unusual posture of standing or bending forward, which does not reflect behavior of felines in the wild. Lions and wild cats are closely associated in fun ethnography. Ritual specialists can transform into lions, but only powerful ritual specialists could manage the transformation. Ritual specialists in the form of lions can either be malevolent or benevolent. Dikwan's aunt is a ritual specialist who transforms into a lioness to check on them at night and to take care of them. Katz and his colleagues say of ritual specialists in the Kalahari, they can travel more rapidly and cover greater distances as lions. Ritual specialists also tease each other and laugh about scaring each other in the form of a lion. Although the malevolent associations of paintings of felines are mostly emphasized in San rock art research, this emphasis does not appear to be the case here. The Tlam tell about a woman who transforms herself into a lioness to hunt. This transformation to hunt may provide a direct link between ritual specialists who provide for good hunting and felines who are recognized to be efficient hunters. Both provide meat and fat, essential for physical and psychological well-being. It is this proficiency, both in felines and ritual specialists, which may be emphasized in this painting of a woman and feline in the same pigment. The woman ritual specialist not only has expertise in transforming into felines, but is also proficient in providing game so others may hunt, with the associated importance of following customary procedures. She may well be a powerful ritual specialist of the game, similar to Dikwan's aunt, who controlled Springbok and who could transform into a lion. These two sites that I have presented show the entanglements in ritual specialist work for their communities, not only in healing, providing for good hunting, but also in reminding their communities to behave with respect and understanding. The random selection of sites I recorded in the southern Drakensberg and adjacent areas show the difficulties in confident ascriptions of gender. But when it is possible, the paintings appear to depict a binary understanding of gender. I did not record any paintings of women carrying, holding, or associated with arrows, bows, and quivers, which are associated with men. Neither did I record figures with breasts as well as penises on the same figure, or a predominant unsexed category as has been argued for the Brandtberg. Indeed, one of our greatest challenges is knowing how to identify complex notions of gender and associated abstract concepts. However, I emphasize that this apparent gendered binary does not mean that there is an equal separation between beliefs about the importance of initiation and following customary procedures and the work of ritual specialists. Indeed, I argue that both the work of ritual specialists and the importance of following respect practices play a primary role in the paintings of areas 1 and 2. Of further interest is the differences between areas 1 and 2, most markedly in the few paintings of women recorded in area 1, and the differences in the way their bodies are depicted. I think it's essential to investigate the variances in San paintings between adjacent areas in what is portrayed and how it is portrayed. Gilrain Lauer has recognized this, and I highlight the impact this may have on understanding notions of identity and personhood. Feminist philosopher Sandra Harding wrote, and this is nearly 40 years ago, the questions that are asked, and even more significantly, the questions that are not asked, are at least as determinative of our total picture as are any answers we can discover. Closely related to the effect of the type of questions we ask have on our understanding of the past is interrogating why we would not use all the evidence we have at our disposal. We know that the sex of animals and the gender of people were important structuring principles for San, which impacts our understanding of these paintings. What is important is to question whether the way in which people and animals are depicted were the same for all San people, and use this information to understand how different groups of San identified and experienced their personhood. This patterning and idiosyncrasy may not only tell us something about individual hallucinations, individual experiences of using and regulating supernatural potency and conditioning people into correct behaviors, as Thomas Dowson and Sam Chalice have suggested, but also perhaps something about the actual individuals involved with these experiences. The possibility of individuals and groups of individuals and their manipulation of potency and people. Exploring these issues may establish a case for paintings that express collective and individual identities of San and their identity marking in and between different areas of the Drakensberg range, with sex and gender playing central roles. I'm very grateful for the funding that I received for my project. The paper that I have presented today is just a small section that's come from my master's research. For this paper, I really thank the people that I have listed. I'm especially grateful to UNISA's archaeology department and their program, which is excellent. They have been incredibly supportive to me through the best of times and the worst of times. I'm very grateful to my supervisors, Joe Behrens and Sven Usman, and I especially want to single out two people, Jeanette Deacon, who has made a prodigious contribution to world archaeology. She is incredibly generous. She has been incredibly supportive of me, and I'm very grateful to her. And then to Nick Wilshire, who must have the greatest fan club of any archaeologist in the world. Thank you so much, Nick. You are so generous. Your expertise, your technical expertise, and the way you are so happy to share it and help is unbelievable. You are an amazing, kind person. Thank you so much for your support. Thanks, everyone.
Hi, everyone. I think that successfully played the video. Hopefully it was quite smooth and didn't start repeating. Yeah, I think we're back, and hopefully you guys can all see us both on the video now. So we've got Dawn here live, and yeah, I hope you guys all enjoyed that. There was wonderful images of the rock paintings. Yeah, we could go on all night about how amazing that site is with all those women and then those serpents. It's incredible. I had the privilege of seeing some of the paintings a couple of years ago now with Dawn, and it's just if you're working in the Western Cape and then you go over to the Drakensberg, all those details and the preservation is just incredible. So it's such a treat to go over there, and so we had a lot of fun for a day. I can't wait to do more work out that way. So on the chat box, you guys have been very quiet, but I see there are 2 questions. Dawn was hoping there would be none. So let's, I hope you guys can all hear. So if you don't hear us, just shout, but I think normally, yeah, it's coming through, I think. Okay, so we've got Molly. She's saying, on the trance drawing with the broad female figures with fly whisks, what is your interpretation of all the dot circles on the heads? So let's start with that one.
Thanks so much, Molly. Hi. I don't know. It could be merely decoration. It could be referring to the sensation of the activation of supernatural potency, either of the two. But truthfully, I don't know.
Cool. Okay. Here's Anne Solomon. She's coming under the tag of hedgehogs and stuff. So she's got 2 questions, and she emailed me earlier, and so I was looking forward to her questions. So let's go for the first one. She's saying these quantitative studies are problematic. Do you expect to be able to replicate your findings? There you go. Putting you on the spot.
Hi, Anne. Thanks so much for your question. I think quantitative research is actually really important, and especially for the types of questions that I'm asking. We have moved on so much with research, and right now I think it's very relevant to look at an area, get a wider view of an area to see what people were painting and how they were painting. It's very difficult to argue that one site is representative of something, and part of the issues that we struggle with is just the publication process of publishing the amount of data, and it's something I had to deal with my master's dissertation. Is you are limited. But yes, I think quantitative, and I hope I heard right, quantitative research, I think is very relevant depending on your research question. And yes, I do think it's replicable because we are overt about the way we are recording a site, the way we are going in, are we working left to right to left, and everything is numbered. So I do believe it is replicable.
And I think I remember when we just recorded the talk, maybe not clear to the viewers that the stats you were presenting were a random sample, so that was also very interesting how you just picked them out of a hat and just had a look at what that went, the direction it took you. So I thought that was quite an interesting point. We got her second question, and then actually talking about Anne, it was very nice that we have these digital databases now, because she was asking me about some sites, and I was able to just pull them out of Saris and share the images with her. So we live in a very different world to the days of where you had to go physically access the slide collection or photographs, and try and share what you've been working on. So I think we live in a very exciting time for rock art research. Being able to find some images and then share those with anyone across the world. And so her second question is, how can you say that one painting of a women's dance is a trance dance and another is linked to initiation? What are your criteria? All art is inherently ambiguous. So 2 tough questions this evening. Thank you, Anne.
Thanks very much, Anne. I'm not categorically saying it is one or the other. The point I'm trying to make is that I think it's a lot more complex, and I think the importance of following customary procedures are emphasized. So you will have perhaps trance and altered state of consciousness images that are related to that, but I think the importance of puberty is also there in the same paintings. I think this divide between the two understandings isn't actually helpful, and perhaps it is a construct that we have created.
Yeah, that's a good point. And then Molly is asking about the females in the site. I think she's referring to the chests. So she's saying, why are the females in that site so broad? I think it was the shoulder chest area. And what are the white bands on the chest for? So remember you were talking about the aprons. So what are your thoughts on those white bands around the chest area?
Hi, Molly. Thanks. I again have to reply to you. I don't know. There are idiosyncrasies in the paintings, and we actually are not sure what they refer to. Often, perhaps the broader chest has something to do with status, but that would have to be argued through finely, and I'm not sure there is the evidence right now for that.
So, guys, have you got any more questions? We had about 40 people this evening. It's been a crazy few days in South Africa. So I think it's not surprising everyone's hunkering down. But we normally get many more views post the talks as well. So I'll be quite. I won't be surprised if we get lots of views in this talk. There's a lot of good visual material in this talk. So Dawn is saying, Anne is saying, I disagree, but thanks for your presentation. I'm not sure to which point, probably to the last one, to the second question about the trance dance and initiation. And there's Andy. He's asking about, can you comment on the San moving between the second and first creations?
No, I don't understand the question, Andy. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not too sure either. But if any of you like follow-ups to those points, perhaps you can explain that, just please email Dawn. I think the email address is in the event page. So please feel free. And then Molly is just saying, is it very common to see broad female figures?
With the broad shoulders, no.
Yeah, it's quite uncommon. Yeah, and certainly in the Western Cape, definitely very uncommon. It's not typical at all. I definitely don't think that's a common way of painting them. I thought, if anyone else has got any questions, I just thought you made some really excellent points, about the way figures are described. So using this male female description in the way we record, and then using women and men. It's a really good point. I really thought that was very interesting and took a lot from that. And I think looking at archives in general, now that we have these extensive digital archives, when you have some new finding, I'm just so excited to go back and look at all the images again with a new eye. So particularly this front apron, back apron issue, to see, in all the areas we've worked in the Cedarburg area, how pervasive that is. It's such a key point. So you'll definitely hear from me once I've sort of looked at all the images and perhaps picked out some examples that could send you. I don't think we have any other questions. Anyone else? Last round before we all head off for our suppers. I think that is, sometimes people ask questions right at the end and it drops off the end and before we've just closed the stream. Okay, I think we've got everyone in there. Okay, great. Well, thank you everyone for attending. Dawn, that was an amazing talk. And thank you for taking the time to record it and prepare it. And I certainly found it very interesting, and a bit biased being a rock art person too. It just really, really was very interesting, and I learned a lot from you, and I thought it was an excellent speech and talk and presentation. And it was very clear, and I thought everyone probably understood it quite well. You really didn't use overly complex language, and hopefully everyone followed along quite nicely. Well attended, and hope you guys are all staying warm and safe out there. And Dawn, I'll bring you a nice bottle of Western Cape red wine when we come up to Rhodes later in the year, to say thank you very much. And I hope you have a lovely evening, and thanks to everyone for attending the talk this evening.
Thanks, Nick.
All right, if you can just stay on, I'll end the stream over there. Thank you, guys. Night.